This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bornini, and these are your headlines. Unlicensed doctors yet again kill more patients. UNICEF reports 1 in 5 young children are dying due to pollution. And a river runs black, but a factory is hit with a huge fine and told to clear up its mess. But firstly, our headline story. Now, you may recall a recent story of the lady who went in for an abortion and the unqualified nurse, instead of cutting her umbilical cord, cut out meters of her intestine. And the patient died an agonizing death. The nurse herself was not prosecuted, for she went on the run. Well, stories like this just keep on coming up over and over again. And in the past week, there has been a rash of such stories, as there has been yet more deaths at the hands of surgeons and doctors who are quite simply not qualified. And they have absolutely no business even being inside a hospital in any professional capacity. But there they are. And the body count just keeps on rising.
A woman has died in Bet Horn, Phnom Penh Hospital. Now, what makes this case so outrageous is when the Ministry of Health investigated, it was discovered that the hospital was knowingly employing foreign doctors that were not qualified to practice medicine. Hang on a minute. This is worth amplifying. A woman died in an operation carried out by doctors who were not qualified, and the hospital's motivation was solely to boost its profits. Now that, to me, is insane. Then, only 2 days later, the butchers of the backroom struck yet again. Another private Phnom Penh hospital, this time the Mongkul Bridge Hospital. They killed another patient, but this time there is a very clear trail. The woman had gone in for an operation, but she was butchered by incompetent and underqualified surgeons. They panicked, and they called an ambulance to rush her to the Khmer Soviet hospital, who tried to save her. But despite the best efforts of qualified doctors, the woman died. But this sad song is far from over, for a week ago, another woman went into the Sihanoukville hospital to give birth. The baby lived, but the mother herself died of asphyxiation. Now, the only logical path there is that somebody got the anaesthetics very wrong. So a baby was born, and the mother dies, and the child is alone in the world, due to underqualified staff. Above all of this, there is a question looming. Are the penalties stiff enough? Are the butchering doctors going to serve time? Maybe not. Will the closed hospitals just open up again under another name? Well, potentially yes. So, will the families find the justice they richly deserve?
Here is a shocking headline, but it does take some explaining. UNICEF has said that 1 in 5 small children within the kingdom are dying due to pollution. Now that, on its own, is a little hard to believe. And when I looked at it, I thought it was clickbait. But when one digs inside the story, one sees there is a much broader base to the word pollution, and then it makes sense. Because when the word pollution also includes water and food contamination, and with that definition, we can now realise that the report is as shocking as we first thought, as it clearly defines that there are thousands of children dying from pollution every single year. And worst of all, most of it is preventable.
The United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, has issued a statement this week saying that pollution is responsible for nearly 20% of deaths among children under 5 in Cambodia. The Cambodian Ministry of Health and UNICEF jointly released the kingdom's first Children Environment Health Assessment, which highlighted the major environmental health risks that children face, including exposure to air pollution, water and food contamination, toxic metals, and pesticides. UNICEF representative in Cambodia, Will Park, said in a statement, "The climate crisis is a child's rights issue. Children are now more exposed than ever before to intensive and destructive environmental hazards that jeopardize the fundamental rights of those children, including their rights to survive and to thrive." Ko Heo, director of Cambodia's Ministry of Health, said the negative health impacts on children due to increasing environmental risks and climate change factors cannot be ignored any longer. The CEH assessment recommends that Cambodia strengthen its policies and regulations to prevent and control exposure to pollutants and contaminants, and to enhance the capacity of healthcare professionals to address these environmental health issues. But surely, the focus must be on food hygiene and clean water, as they seem to be the two major pollutants. And those can be monitored at home. And this alone would make a huge difference. So maybe that first step is education.
A factory in Battambang has been hit with a major fine after it did immeasurable damage to the ecosystem by releasing large amounts of toxic waste into the local river. What was seen by residents was simply apocalyptic. A large black mass had spread across the river and its tributaries, and it killed everything that it came into contact with. Well, now the company responsible has been brought to book and has been issued with a very severe fine and a warning. You do it again and you are out of business.
Battambang residents were horrified when they saw a mass of fish laying dead in the local river, killed by a mysterious black slick of chemicals. It did not take long for local authorities to trace the pollution back to a factory further upstream. The cost to the local ecosystem was quite simply devastating, as the toxic chemicals killed all that they came in contact with. And now the factory has been suspended and has been hit with a $400,000 fine. The Ministry of Environment issued a notification letter to the owners of the factory, a Phoenix Industrial Limited, a Chinese-owned factory based in Battambang. And what they stated was that the company must pay impact compensation in addition to the huge fine. The ministry also requires them to relocate their factory 10 kilometers away from any water source. And finally, the ministry said they must rehabilitate the environment in and around the factory site before November of this year. It would seem the cause was that there was a leak in the factory's piping system, and when discovered, after only about 3 hours, it had contaminated a huge amount of the river. The company itself produces ethanol, biochemicals, and food additives, and it is this that was leaked. The workers at the factory were not forgotten, for the ministry said that the owners of the factory must pay the workers their full wage during their time of suspension.
There is more good news with regards to the new international airport in Siem Reap. There has been a long ongoing debate that needed to be settled. You see, the new airport is a long way from town. To be precise, 51.2 kilometres. And that is an awful long way to go when there is no dedicated transit system. Some locals have said an expressway would be built. Others said that existing roads would be widened. But what has now been announced is by far a way better solution, and that is a dedicated light railway to shuttle passengers from the airport directly into town. A dedicated shuttle system that will run at regular intervals, be extremely convenient, and not be delayed by congestion.
The light railway idea in many people's minds is the only clear solution, for it is now a favoured choice of many major airports globally. For it works so very well, it has been applauded by many. Quite simply, you are not having to guess what time you will get to the airport. If trains leave every 15 minutes or so, you are guaranteed to be on time for your flight, so your trip away begins with very little stress. Not the unholy mess of traffic jams at busy times that can seize up an airport, causing absolute chaos. The deal, though, is far from done, for the builders of the Siem Reap light rail project have asked for more analysis from the Cambodian government, as the railway will pass through the Angkor Park and could affect archaeological sites. The request was made by officials of the Metro Group at a recent consultation meeting. The company sought complete data and information from the Cambodian government, as the rail line itself is a high-speed rail link and will pass through those protected areas. And apart from protecting the archaeological sites, the study has to take into account the expected rise in the number of tourists. It's not just about building one rail link for today, but to future-proof it for future generations. Just think about it. Not too far in the future, you can board a high-speed train, be whisked to a brand new airport, then fly direct to your destination. No more road congestion, and more importantly, no more long layovers waiting for connecting flights. Now, this to me is the things that dreams are made of.
It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week.
Here's your weather chart, and there's no surprises. The government has been warning of severe weather in certain areas, and although it looks also jolly bleak, it is getting to that stage in the season now where you get one almighty downpour, and a few minutes later the sun pops its head out, so it's not all too bad. But do be warned, those roads can be treacherous.
This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly Roundup.